Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Sticky Things. I'm up here in Bristol at Drytac with Gareth. Gareth, would you like to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Drytac?
Yep, I'm the academy manager for Drytac. In our academy we have 5 printers ranging from UV, EcoSilver and latex, which enables us to do profiling, media trials, print trials, all in-house.
Excellent. And so the point of the webinar here today is there's so many, I guess, kind of misconceptions out there around media. It's one of those topics as well that's really quite broad. There's a lot to learn, particularly if you're new to the world of printing. So what we're going to try and do is debunk any kind of myths that are out there, hopefully give you a bit more knowledge around not only the kind of face films that you're seeing, but also the adhesive technologies behind them as well. Here at Drytac, one of their specialities is the adhesive technology. So that's going to be the first part here that I chat through with Gareth, and we're just going to talk about the adhesive technologies and what that means and the types of applications that those technologies suit. So Gareth, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's really about 3 or 4 main adhesive technologies that we have here. They fall into about 4 categories. You've got permanent, removable, air escape or bubble free, and a hybrid silicone adhesive or proprietary adhesive we've got. So first of all, permanent. It sticks. It is a permanent adhesive, so it's good for about 5 to 7 years. Our cast or vehicle wrapping media is up to 10 years. It's permanent, so that's it comes in a grey adhesive and a clear adhesive. So you might use a grey to block out as a block out material to block out any old graphics or any on windows to block light coming through, and there's a clear adhesive for your general signage.
Excellent. And how, in terms of that kind of duration that you mentioned, as you said, 5 to 7 years or 10 years for the vehicle wrap material, would that always be indoors and outdoors for those types of applications?
There's an indoor and outdoor life expectancies, depending on what media you use, so they do fluctuate ever so slightly, but you normally fall between that 5-year barrier really, indoor and outdoor.
Excellent.
And then we move on to removable media. So that can go into a couple of categories. So you've got our monomeric and our polymeric vinyls, which are removable, again with a grey and clear adhesive. You can have their options into. So you might have a fleet vehicle company that you change your signage every 2 years. You hire your cars out, hire the vans out, and you sign right up for the company that's hiring them. After 2 years, after the contract's ended, you have to strip the vinyl off. It makes life easier. You don't have a lot of adhesive residue, and it's easy to pull off. Also, our removable adhesive is on our wallpaper range as well. So our Drytac range is removable and repositionable, so it doesn't pull off the paper when you want to remove it, unlike the permanents.
Excellent. I'm sure it's going to sound really good to some of the listeners here as well, who have probably spent many hours scrubbing adhesive off of things before reapplying new materials. So there you go, guys. There are some technologies out there that allow you to remove that vinyl afterwards as well.
Yep. Then we move on to air escape or bubble free media. So again, there's 2 ways into what we do with that. There's a media called Spot On, where there's spots of adhesive on the back of the film. This can be applied with your hands or little tools, so just a squeegee, no water, it can be applied dry. And the air goes through the little channels between the dots of adhesive, and it makes you just push all the air out. Other side of things on that is we have a liner, embossed liner, that embosses the pattern into the adhesive, where it's like there's one that's a hexagonal one, there's one like a pyramid shape, that pushes into the adhesive and makes them air channels in the adhesive, so when you squeeze out all the air, and then you're left with adhesive bonding to the substrate.
Brilliant. And so with that, would it then reduce the life expectancy of the adhesive? So where it's permanent but it's got that air escape, would it still have kind of last the same amount of time and just be easier to apply? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ours is one of our products is it's got that bubble free liner on it, but because the liner is embossed, it's embossed into the adhesive.
Okay.
So when you apply it, you squeeze all that air out, but also you're squeezing out the pattern, which then puts a full 100% coverage of adhesive, no loss in adhesive or life expectancy then.
Nice, that sounds really good. I guess for beginners as well, some of those air release films might be a good place to start when you're applying vinyl.
Yeah, it does
easier
make
for certain types of jobs.
It makes it easier. It can also speed up time, so you save money as well because you're not spending as much time on a job by applying it. Also, because you've got that bit of edge on, you do sometimes have a couple of tries getting it on and off because there's the adhesive's not bonding straight to the substrate at the first go. Even experienced fitters will tend to like Aeroscape as well because some of the jobs you can do a lot quicker, saving time and money then.
Nice, that sounds good.
And then finally we move on to our hybrid proprietary adhesive, which you'll find all on our PET films, our window films, which means it puts it on the windows, you can remove them, you put it on, and there's no residue left, and there's no residue lines in the film when you pull it off at stages. It's a one coat of adhesive. So it's like when you get a screen protector on your phone, you put it on, you press in the middle, the air goes out. Same technology applies to this.
Nice, that sounds really clever. What sort of thing would you use that for then, potentially?
Windows. It's all on our window films, so you can use it for windows, glass panels, acrylics, car windows. It's on our PET film, which we'll touch on later about the technology on our films. But yeah, it's all on our VisiPrint range, our window range.
Nice, that sounds really good. Gareth mentioned a couple of materials throughout the kind of conversation there. What we're going to do is come back to those a little bit later on, and he'll give you a little demo, a little talk through of what they do and the adhesives that are on the back of the films as well. So what we're going to do next is just talk about the face films and the technology that's involved in those. So to continue our talk on media, we're going to talk about face films and the different types of technology involved in manufacturing those, and then hopefully what that means for you guys as well at home in terms of when you're picking the right material for a job, helping you decide what the best one would be. So without further ado, hand you back over to Gareth. What types of technology are there out there, Gareth?
There's 5 main face film technologies. So you've got a monomeric, a polymeric, a cast, a PET, and a polyprop or PP. So the best way to describe the first 3, so your monomeric, your polymeric, and your cast is about, the best analogy I've got is about baking.
Nice.
So your monomeric is your basic pastry mix, flour, eggs, water, sugar, and it's rolled out, but it does shrink over time because you've stretched it out.
Okay.
And so it does shrink back over time. A polymeric is made with the same ingredients as a monomeric, but with some more ingredients in it, sometimes better ingredients as the starting point, and then there's more added into it. Again, it's rolled out and stretched out then, but it does shrink, but not as much as a monomeric. It shrinks at a slower rate, and sometimes not at all.
Okay.
And then you get to cast. Cast is like when you make a sponge cake, and you put it in the tin and you bake it, and it comes out the same shape as you went in. Cast is casted, that's why it's called cast film, because it is casted made. So it does not shrink over time. You can heat it up, you can stretch it, you can heat it back up again, and it shrinks again. But it knows its shape where it was, so it doesn't shrink back over time.
Nice, clever stuff. So what sort of applications would each of those be suited to then? The monomeric, the polymeric, and the cast?
So there's 3 prices associated with them as well. So your monomeric will be, this sounds a little bad, but your cheap signage, your low cost signage. So it could be as much as cut letters on a van, cut letters for a sign, or foot fill for a sign, for a tray sign. You don't know, shrinkage or life expectancy is not a must. Polymeric is normally what people tend to run with, a nice run of the mill every day, they know how it's going to act. It has little shrinkage so that when they do print and cut items, the stickers and stuff don't shrink massively. Okay. So you can do print and cut stickers on windows and they don't shrink over time. And then you've got your cast film, that's for vehicle wrapping. It's more expensive, but that's the manufacturing cost, that's where it's all coming from. And it's all, cast is really only used for vehicle wrapping because you can stretch it and it keeps its shape then as well.
Nice, and I know potentially even some of the people that are on this webinar, I know that it's not just vehicles now that are kind of being wrapped.
No.
Would it be suited to wrap in other things as well, the cast material?
Yeah, we've done wheels, buses, boats, cars, trucks, you know, if it's 3D it can be wrapped.
Blimey.
Yeah, it's just a degree of difficulty of wrapping it.
So just the techniques involved in applying it afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies if you hear any background noise there, guys.
Yeah, and then we move on to PET film. PET, the reason why we use it is it doesn't shrink. So we use it on our Adhesive print range, which is our window film range. So when you apply it onto a window and cut it in, it doesn't shrink with all the heat and the cold from the window when it heats up and contracts over the time. It doesn't come in, doesn't leave you that little gap around the edge. It'll stay exactly where it was when the day you cut it in.
Right,
It's
okay.
got a stable material as well.
Yeah.
Then we move on to polyprop. Polyprop is like the non-PVC equivalent. So we've got a couple of materials that we use that enables you to do a non-PVC floor vinyl and floor coverings and walls, wall coverings as well, but also signs as well. If you want to do a non-PVC sign, the materials are there to do it as well. So it's really the non-PVC option.
Excellent, excellent. So those are the 5 kind of main types of face films that not only you manufacture, but also the guys at home will be using as well, day to day.
Yeah, you normally come across, the monoameric and polymeric is your normal run-of-the-mill sign-making films you normally come across. And then cast, obviously, for the vehicle wrapping, and you probably like to come across PET more than polyprop. So you go about 3, monoameric, polymeric and PET, your normal industry ones. You come across more so than others as well, depending what you're doing into your sign job and your shops and stuff, but that's what most people tend to use.
Excellent, that's really helpful. I hope that was helpful for you as well, guys. In the next part, what we're going to do is just talk through some of the specific Drytac materials. So Gareth's going to give you an overview of their range and what they do and what types of applications they'll be suited to. So in this next section, guys, Gareth's got some of the Drytac materials here, and he's going to apply those to this piece of glass. He's going to talk about the types of materials that they are, the types of applications they'd be suited to, so just go into a little bit more detail on that. And he's also going to talk about some of the techniques for application as well. So again, without further ado, hand you over to Gareth, and he'll start working his way through some of those materials.
Cool. Can I pass you to Dan?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. We'll go start with a spot on. As we talked about earlier, with a spot on adhesive, makes it very easy to apply. And you can either do it by hand or by squeegee. Comes in white, clear, matte and gloss.
And when you say by hand, does that literally mean just smoothing it over?
Yeah, so you can take down the first part of the release liner, stick it up.
Wow.
And literally just lay it down by hand.
Excellent. So that's really easy for supermarkets, for example, when they're changing their offers and things like that.
Yeah, storefronts, store glasses, window fronts, stuff like that. Short promotions. It can stick onto glass, sticks onto walls, sticks onto painted objects. So you can do little decals out, cut it out, do kiss cuts, stickers, and then when you want to remove it, it cleanly removes with no adhesive residue.
Excellent.
But also, if you put this up wrong, you can apply this again and again and again.
That's really good. And I might be jumping ahead here, but you do a floor version of this as well, don't you? Where you can apply it onto floor for short-term applications as well. Spot on floor 200 mic monomeric film. Same spot on adhesive, and it'll go to carpet tiles, wood floors, tiles, down for short-term months. I believe it's short-term use for up to 6 months. Nice. That sounds really good.
Yeah, with the same spot on adhesive, easy to remove as well.
Brilliant. So hopefully, as you've seen there, guys, that one's nice and easy to apply. Really easy. You're not getting any bubbles in there or anything like that. And if you do, you can just smooth them straight over by hand. So no need even for a squeegee or the other application tools that you'd normally use. Just nice and straightforward.
Okay, next product that we're going to talk about is our Drytac. This is a removable, repositionable media. Drytac textures comes in 4 textures. So you've got Drytac linen, Drytac sand, Drytac canvas, and Drytac wood grain. but we also do a gloss and matte version, a 150 mic and a 75 micron version. Both can be suited for wall application, for doing wall murals, wall wraps, applied to glass, as this is what we're going to be doing here, to counters, to mostly very many different substrates, but it's also repositional, as I showed you. So I'll hand you that one back.
Yep.
We're going to look at the Drytac linen textures.
And why might you use something like a linen texture when you're thinking about doing a wall or something like that? Why would you go for the linen?
I quite like the texture on it.
Yeah.
You can get a nice pattern in it, and certain colours highlight the pattern more than others.
Nice.
It's sometimes better than or more preferred over a matte flat finish. Just have a little bit of textures in it.
Cool.
So you can remove all the backing on this, and we'll apply it to the glass. So you can just hover over a place where you need it to be. And again, you can smooth this down with, if you're just doing small decals, small posters, you can smooth this down by hand. When you're doing with the wall, you can obviously use a squeegee and use the same method, pull the release liner off and go down with the squeegee when you're doing a larger bit. But they're all make easy to apply, and if you do it wrong, you can just peel it off. It acts the same on glass as it does on the wall. Pulls it off with no adhesive residue, and then reapply over the top. If you pass me that Drytac 150 back. What's also neat with Drytac products is that you can apply them over the top of each other. So, for instance, like if you've got a club or a bar that you've got bands playing at every night, different events, you can apply their graphic over each other by hand or with a squeegee.
Nice.
Apply it over the top, and then every night when the band plays and they've gone off and ready for the next day, you can remove the next one, and the next one appears, and it doesn't remove any ink. So you can have these laid up, 5, 6, 7, or 8, and then every night just peel one off and reveal the next poster behind it.
Sounds really clever.
Yeah. So you can use it for all different applications, from point of sale to internal graphics to internal walls. The application for this is pretty wide.
Excellent. Would that, in terms of the applying over the top of the other one, would that also be good? So when you do a wall graphic and you're kind of overlapping, does that mean that you get good adhesion between the overlaps as well?
Yeah, so when we, normally on overlap you do a 20 to 30 mil overlap. So when you do an overlap, it will stitch with itself, and you get a nice clean overlap with a little curl onto the edges. So yeah, when you're doing big wall murals, 5, 6, 7 meters wide, 3 meters high, you'll get a nice adhesion back to itself as well.
Excellent. Sounds really good.
Yeah. Next we move on to the VisiPrint range. So there is 2 different adhesive technologies that the VisiPrint range uses. One is a permanent clear adhesive, and the other is the hybrid silicone proprietary adhesive. So we'll start with the hybrid adhesive. This one back. So we're going to take the VisiPrint Impress White. So the Impress range comes with a white SEL, and which is solvent, eco-solvent and latex compatible, and a UV version as well, which UV clear version.
Okay.
This can be applied wet or dry. The bigger the graphic, I tend to go with wet application because it makes life a lot easier. So again, you can remove the first inch of the release liner, and then you can apply it down. This one I tend to do with a squeegee, but it is pretty easy to go down, remove the liner.
So what's the reason for using the squeegee then in this case compared to the other ones where you can get away with doing it by hand?
This one has no aerograss, no dot pattern. The adhesive is full coverage, so you need to squeeze it out the air as you go. There's no channels or anywhere to do it. You can do it by hand, if you're just doing a small graphic, but if you're doing a bigger window, it's easier to do it by hand.
Squeegee.
And you can normally do it faster. Also, if you've got a fresh print, you've done it quite newly, what you can do is take the release liner, wrap it around your squeegee, like so. So the siliconized side of it is on the outside, and then when you squeegee, it'll slide over the top and won't scratch your print because the silicone will flow over the top.
That's a neat idea. I've not seen that before actually.
See?
Nice.
And then it doesn't damage your print then. Again, with this stuff, with the Visiprint and Press range, you can remove it and reapply it it leaves no adhesive residue behind, so you can place it where you want. And squeeze your layer out, and then remove it again, and do it one more time. So it makes it very easy to keep applying, keep reapplying as many times as you need. So it's not, if you mess up, you can pull it off, you can redo it. Makes life very much easier. And then when you're done,
nice.
gone.
And where would you expect to see this sort of application? And where would you see this sort of day to day?
The Visiprint range is all about for the windows. These are all PET films. So that when you cut them into the windows, there's no shrinks on them, so it'll stay exactly. You put it up here and you cut across. It won't shrink down from the top of the window. It will always stay like this. So you'll see them in advertising, point of sales, shop windows again, because it's the ease of use. You know, you can, doesn't matter where you place it, you can just keep taking it back off, and the adhesion doesn't lose its grip.
And if you're wet applying this, in terms of the adhesion afterwards, is it still the same level of adhesion that you're getting?
Yeah, as you were mentioning, white apply. I'll show you how that is done. And there is no, so you can just spray down the water, spray down the window with water. It has no soap or any IPA in it, it's just plain old water. Then you can float over the top your graphic, so it makes it easy to apply if you need to go in a specific area. Then squeeze out the water from the middle, working your way out from the middle.
And am I right in saying that some people, when they do wet apply, would put a little bit of soap in there, for example? And why would you not need to use that for this material?
Yep, you got it slowly. You can put a little bit of soap in. I tend to use baby soap more than washing up liquid, because the washing up liquid contains salts, obviously to clean the fats away, and when you're doing your dishes. And when you're doing window graphic, especially the optical clear films like the other Visiprint range, the salts can crystallise and can give you a silvering effect in the film, so which there you get a cloudy way. Because this is a hybrid adhesive, opposed to like a permanent adhesive, it'll glide quite easily across it. If you're doing, for instance, when we move on to the Visiprint Deco, I tend to put a little bit of soap in there for it to glide over, because it's a permanent adhesive. It'll grip and it'll bond. The water won't cut the tension as much.
Right.
So the Impress range, you can use water and it'll glide, it'll stick, and then squeeze it all out, and then dry it all off. Act how it was, like it was a dry applied. And then if you do it right again, you can just peel it off quite easily. After 24 hours, the bond will return back then. It'll
Nice.
dry. It's what we call a drying out process. After 24 hours, the water will dry out behind the film, and then adhere to full strength then. Makes it very easy to apply and remove then, especially with water.
Great.
Thank you. Then we move on to Visiprint Deco. Deco SR is a permanent optical clear window film. It's 50 micron window film. So while the Visiprint Impress range is a 100 mic or 125 mic PET, it's with the hybrid silicone adhesive, which is removable, repositionable media.
So why would you pick different thicknesses of material? What would guide your decision in that respect?
Different thicknesses is also down to manufacturing and how we make it as well.
Okay.
As well as what you do with it. When you have a thick media and it's permanent, when you do the crease, when you get a crease, it's quite hard to get it back out. It makes a white line in it. So again, with the impress range, you can do it bit by bit. But this one you can do wet or dry, doesn't really matter, but I tend to do this wet because the adhesive on it, as you can probably hear, pretty strong on this. And this one you can use with just water only or with soap. The neat trick with this when you do stuff like this is you can put your graphic on top of the water to hold it up. And then you can remove your backing. It acts like a third hand. And the graphic's kept on the window. You can spray it down with water, squeegee, and turn it around, which then allows you, as you can see, float and move.
That's really gliding, isn't it?
Yeah, over the top, position it where you want, and then again start from the middle and work your way out, squeeging in the water as you go down. And you can see there, optical clear film with no distortion in it. That is a permanent adhesive, so it's 7 years internal, 3 years external, and it looks very nice when you do like this bit clear around it. It can look like it is cut letters rather than applied with one big film.
And that's the optically clear element that makes it look like that.
Optically clear film, optically clear adhesive. Again, it's more pricey, more expensive, but you're getting the technology the advanced technology in this build to helps you.
Impressive, good stuff. And your final one.
Yep, this is the Impress Clear UV. We also do a SEL version, so a solvent, eco-solvent latex, like the white, and it applies the same way as the white does. It's just another optical clear film.
So just as a heads up, guys, if you've never handled one of these films before, the peeling off of the backing sheet can be quite tricky.
Yeah, the backing film is quite thin.
Yeah, and often they can be really quite transparent as well. So the last one that Gareth was doing there was pretty transparent in terms of the backing sheet as well.
Yeah. Again, another optical clear film, but you're able to apply either wet or dry. You squeeze all the water out. You dried all this back off again with a towel, dry it all off, and they dry out or wetten out, as we call it. After 24 hours, they'll bond full strength then. Next up is our polar range. These are our monomeric, polymeric, and our cast films, as we talked about earlier with our permanent and removable and bubble-free adhesives. So we'll show you applying to one. All three can use the same techniques of applying.
And these films kind of tend to be a little bit thinner, don't they, the cast films, to the touch than other films that you get?
Yeah, so your monomeric films and your polymeric, this is a 80 micron polymeric film. Your cast is around about 50 microns, so they are thinner. A total solution for cast with its overlaminar on it is 80 microns, so it's as thick as this polymeric as a finished solution. Of course, you've got to stretch it around a 3D object as well. So polymeric is a semi 3D, 2D, 3D cast, 3D objects. Monomeric mostly flat objects. So again, revealed about an inch of the release liner. As you can see, I don't know whether you guys can see this, is the pattern in the release liner that makes it is bubble-free adhesive on it. So again, release the top of it, line it up where you need it. On these ones, I use a squeegee. It is best practice on it. This material here is a permanent adhesive on this one.
Okay.
But again, with the air release, makes it a lot easier. So you can reveal quite a lot of the adhesive behind, hold, and then squeegee down. And then it pushes all the air out. So you can see bubble-free application there.
And if you did get a bubble, what could you do with
So depends how much you've pressed it down. You can rub your finger over and push the air out into the air channels and push it away. You can also squeegee it to the edge, or you can just peel it off. Mindful that it's permanent adhesive, so when you pull it is strong and you don't want to stretch the material and distort it, you can reveal more and then apply it back again.
Excellent.
So we have the same techniques can be used for all three monomeric, polymeric and cast films.
So just to finish off this section on Drytac's different media types, Gareth's taken you through a variety of them and also talks about the application as well. He's just got a swatch booklet here and he's just going to talk through some of the more specialist types of application and materials that you might use for those as well.
Thank you. So one product that's recently been released is a counter matte solution by us. So it's a two-part system. So you print reversed onto a clear material and it's backed up with a white self-adhesive backing of it. It's got like really tiny sucker cups in the release liner, in this part here, the white one, which enables it to grip onto counters and stuff so it doesn't slide away. This is also FDA proof for food contact, so you can make children's play mats out of it, food mats and stuff, and still be safe, so you can drop food on and pick it back up, and you can wipe it all down again. So that's a nice clever material, and it's printable with everything.
So where would you see that then? Potentially bar mats and things like that?
Yeah, you can see it. Bar mats, shop counters, don't always have to be near food or anything, could be in shop counters as by the till, so where there's a heavy wear through, because this is, as a total solution, this is a 576 micron thick thing, so it's quite a really thick and durable material. So, you know, the face film's over 300, the bit we reverse print is over 300 microns thick, so it's very durable. So children's, you know, you can be in children's nurseries, you can be in bars, you can be in schools, you can be in you know, hospitality, or even in storefront. So the application for this is, you know, anywhere and everywhere. You know, we've even made mouse mats out of this stuff for our offices, and it'll grip onto, you know, the counters and the laminates and the tabletops without sliding around. So you've got that bit of slip resistance as well.
Excellent.
So it's a nice product we've got. Also, we have a whiteboard and a chalkboard. So the two products, both available in with the Drytac adhesive, so the removable and the repositionable media, and also as a permanent. So if you want, you know, if you wanted a permanent whiteboard or a permanent chalkboard, you know, applied up to the wall, you've got the adhesive for it. The wipe erase, the whiteboard has a 10-year guarantee. So you can take a Sharpie right all over it and wipe it off again. You know, you can with a Sharpie you can use a wet wipe and rub it off, or use a dry erase marker to go across it again and wipe it all off. But it's got a hard coated top coat on it, so it's resistant to them ketones in them permanent markers that scratch it and make it ghost. So it doesn't ghost. So it'll always keep white. So you can wipe it all down again with like baby wipes or IPA, and it returns back to the natural white. So it's only printable with UV, but you can create some really nice whiteboards.
Excellent.
Might show you out there in our academy, which we've got. Moving on to the chalkboard again, Drytac and permanent adhesive on this, printable with anything with a white ink. So eco-solvent, UV, latex, all printable, and you can write with this with a hard chalk, you know, the kids' chalk, or with the liquid chalk markers. Again, they can be removed with a baby wet wipe as well, just wiping it down with water. The other products that we got is Polar Burst, which is a reflective silver material, which is nice, makes nice interior graphics, so you've got nice lighting as well, gives you some nice results. And one of my favourite materials is called Polar Chrome, which you'll see later on when we do the wall application. So Polar Chrome is a silver reflective material, printable with everything, and it gives you some really stunning results as well. And in this product, we've made it as a PET film, so it's really easy to apply, no distortion, with a permanent release liner on as well.
Excellent.
And the final product I would like to show you is VisiPrint Illuminate. Illuminate is a self-adhesive backlit film, or you can just use it with the liner on and use it as a traditional backlit film. You don't have to take the liner off. It has the same proprietary silicone hybrid adhesive as the rest of the VisiPrint range, so the VisiPrint Impress range has. So you can apply it to glass and take it off really easily. But it also makes very nice night and day storefront graphics. So in the day it's lit by obviously natural light, and then in the night when you leave all the storefront lights on, it's also nice as a backlit as well. So it works as a two-pronged way.
Brilliant.
And you can get some really lovely crisp results with this.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
No problem. Right, the next thing we're going to do is apply wall graphic to this wall here. This has been sanded and wiped down, so any dust has been removed. We're going to be using the Drytac Polar Chrome for the wall graphic. It's that metallic eyes silver PET film, so it'll make a really nice wall graphic with especially the light in here. It's been printed on the Roland VG2 using the Drytac Polar Chrome profile. We're going to start this end down here, making sure the overlaps are facing towards the wall as you start your graphic away from the main entrance of the room. Due to this, there's a corridor with multiple entries and exits. The main entry is from here, so we're going to start in this corner and work our way down here. Here you're going to see a time-lapse video of myself and Dan from Roland fitting Polar Chrome onto the wall. As this is a PET film, there is no movement after you start, and you're unable to stretch or distort the media if you're drifting off. That's why it's helpful to have a second man. That's what Dan is helping me do now, making sure it's lined up all the way top to the bottom. This is a 1.6 meter high wall, so it makes life a lot easier if you've got a second man, making sure you're all aligned. So yep, just working a section at a time as you go down. This has got a permanent adhesive on the back, so you do have a small window of second chance if you ever need it. You'll probably see that it's coming up a little bit later on. You see me removing part of it and then reapplying, and then after 24 hours it comes to full bond. You can create some really nice wall murals, wall displays with Polar Chrome. You can either over laminate with our anti-graffiti or anti-scratch laminate, and it gives you that high gloss finish with that protection as well. Another thing to remember when applying products such as like Polar Chrome is to make sure your squeegee is clean. I think I went through a couple of squeegees doing this install. Not saying the squeegees are bad, they've just collected dust, and I don't want to scratch it to print, so I'll grab a new one, and then I'll use it for later projects as well. If you do get any crease bubbles or where it's just lifting off from the wall due to the tension, what you can do is get a ruler and cut straight down the middle of the area it's popping, and then it will relieve the tension. Then you can flatten it back down again. If your blade is sharp enough, you should, and depending on what colour you're cutting through and the angle, sometimes you can hardly see it. It just disguises it quite well. As you can see here, Danny's using tape to make sure that the alignment's correct all the way down the media as it's going to the door frame. That will affect the alignment because it will push the media out. It won't give you a true alignment. So we're just using a very low tack tape to secure it in place. You see the tool I'm currently using to slice off the excess. It's a vinyl guard, easy guard glide knife that you can get from Sign Gear. It's a Teflon backed tool, so it'll glide over adhesive, and it also makes it quite easy when you're doing removing excess media. They don't scratch the object below or damage the object below. So as in this case, we're cutting lid onto a painted door frame. It'll glide straight over and won't leave any marks.
Thank you all for watching, and a big thank you to Gareth as well for his help with the webinar. I hope you found it really interesting and helpful. We're now going to jump into a Q&A session with Gareth and myself, so any questions,